Hey, it's Rob here, and today I want to talk to you about a question that's come up a couple of times this week with clients, and that is how do I retain and grow my existing clients? Did you know that if you can increase retention of your clients by 5% a year, then you can increase profits by up to 65%? Now, I recently worked with a client, Pedrosa Communications, where we really focused on this client retention and growth. And after working together for a year, they've managed to increase their profitability by 60%. So it's absolutely doable. My name's Rob. I'm a business coach who works with agencies, and over the last 13 years I've worked with 250 agencies. And by the end of this short tutorial, I want to give you 5 tips on how you can increase your client retention and growth with your existing client base. Let's face it, no one wants to take this utilities approach to client management, and that is work really hard to win new clients, give them all the great offers, and make no effort to keep my existing client base because I just expect to lose them. This is a crazy business model, and I do not understand why the telecoms, why mobile phones, why gas and electricity, and so on take this approach where they almost expect to lose their clients, so they make no attempt to keep them. This is not a smart business model in the agency world. You work super hard to win your clients, and it costs you a lot of money to win them. So let's make sure that you can not only retain them for the long term, but you can also identify opportunities to grow them. So I want to outline 5 tips that you can start implementing straight away in your agency that will help you and your team, if you have one, not only retain but grow your existing clients. So tip number 1 is to manage your client expectations, and you need to do this from the get-go. So you need to not win a client by over-promising the earth and then not being able to deliver it. You want to win the client by setting really clear expectations about what is included and what isn't included in the campaign that you're going to be running for them. Now, one of the ways that you're going to manage these expectations is by setting really clear, measurable objectives from the beginning. Ask your clients, what does success look like in this campaign, so that they have a clear understanding and you have a clear understanding about what success looks like, and you both agree how you're going to measure that. This is all about focusing on the outcomes of what you deliver for your client and not the detailed input. It's amazing that I see some clients sending really long monthly reports identifying every single thing that they've done. Of course, the client doesn't always understand this, but when it's pages long, it looks impressive. That's the view of the agency anyway. But in fact, what the client really cares about is what impact and what outcomes are you producing for the client, not how long have you taken to do something. So make sure that we are aligned in terms of communicating our outcomes and measuring them, and they're measured against the client's desired outcomes as well. So the third tip I want to give you, and these are kind of obvious but worth stating out loud, is that you need to communicate really effectively and really frequently. People that bury their head in the sand because something isn't quite going to plan set themselves up for all sorts of trouble later on down the road. So you need to communicate effectively and frequently with your client, and you need to understand that all clients have different preferred communications. So when you're building your initial onboarding process with your client, understand their preferred means of communication and then try and fit in with that. It could be that they prefer phone, it could be they prefer reports, they might use a system like Slack. Whatever it is, make sure that you can communicate frequently with them, both formally with agreed meetings and context for those meetings, and informally through other email, phone, and so on. Number 4 goes back to number 1 really, which is from day 1, make sure you're building a consultative relationship with your client. If we have this respectful partner-partner type of relationship, that's going to be much better, and you'll be able to push back on your client much more effectively than if we have this imbalanced customer-supplier relationship. The minute we have this kind of customer-supplier relationship, we are seen as a commodity. Commodities come and go. People don't really understand the value that we're bringing. They'll argue about price, and that's a surefire route to a short-term relationship with your client, as opposed to the goal of retaining and growing clients. And the 5th tip really is around growth. So that is that you need to make sure you are taking a strategic view of your client. So of course we are busy delivering the client work and, you know, working on the day-to-day stuff. But every now and again, I suggest once a quarter, we have a internal meeting where we're totally focused on not the day-to-day nitty-gritty activities, but taking a high-level view of the client, looking at where we're at, looking at any risks that we have, identifying any opportunities that we can pursue, and actively having a strategy for how we can grow that client through either providing more of the same services or identifying opportunities where we can provide additional services into the agency. How many times have you sat with a client and they've talked about something and then they said, oh, we got another agency or another company to do that, and you're sitting there thinking, well, we could have done that for you. And that's because you haven't taken the strategic view. You haven't stood back and had an actual strategy for communicating the additional things that you could do for the client. So make sure, that's my tip number 5, make sure that you are taking a periodic high-level strategic view of your client, and what comes out of that is an action plan of things that you can do to proactively go and grow that client. So there you go, that's my 5 tips on how to grow your clients and how to retain them for the long term. Now, I hope you found this short tutorial useful. If you look in the comments below, you'll see a link to a free webinar that I'm running, which is all around client and account management. So you can click on that link and subscribe for free to that webinar, which will go into some more detail about some of the things that I've talked about briefly today. There are also some other links down below to free ebooks. Please leave a comment. What additional tips and experiences and ideas do you have that that help you retain and grow your clients? And lastly, please hit on the subscribe link to this video so that you are the first to see my new videos, and feel free to share this with your colleagues.